With over 40 years of experience, Matthew's impressive journey began in the mid-90s, leading him to successful navigate various sectors of the real estate market, including residential property, multi-family buildings, and land development. As a passionate mentor, Mathew has dedicated decades of teaching others how to build wealth through strategic real estate investing. He emphasizes innovative deal structuring and continuous learning, making him a valuable resource for both novice and seasoned investors. So in this episode, we're going to talk to Mathew, his unique approach to investing, his insights, the market trends, the challenges he overcomes through his career. And I'm thrilled to be speaking with you. Thank you, Mathew.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here. I've seen you over the years, and this is just a great opportunity to get to know you better and to share with your listeners, who I am, what I've done, the good, the bad, the ugly.
There's so much we can go with this. Like there's so much. I leave it up to you. Where do you want to jump in? You wanted the current stuff, your story, or what you're doing with helping others? How did that start off with?
Yeah, I'll start with my story. Sure. So I bought my first house in 1984. I was 19 years old, and it was pretty much, today you'll call it house hacking, because I had a basement apartment, side entrance, but no kitchen. But they would come in the side, turn down towards the basement, or just turn to the right and go open the door, go into the kitchen, to which I shared the kitchen with the basement apartment. Because for me, I was 19. I didn't know how to build a kitchen.
Yeah. Of course.
And,
good explanation.
And I actually thought, like the realtor told me, told me I can do a kitchen. So I just said, okay, great. And then when I bought it, I realized I couldn't. So I was buying it to rent it out to two different people.
Yep.
That was the plan that was given to me. And I didn't do any research. I didn't check the zoning, didn't do anything. I just assumed the realtor knew what they were talking about. Because, realtors are realtors, but they're not really builders, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they're not even investors. So when I bought the house, I had to end up moving in there and living there because I couldn't rent the house because it only had a shared kitchen. So it was okay.
But 19, you had to live somewhere, I guess.
19. And I'll tell you, interest rates were 13.7% in 1984. So it's a bit different because back then, that house was about $79,000, $80,000. And a grown-up would make about $30,000 a year. So really about 2.5 years worth of full income to buy a house. Today, even if interest rates
is being recorded.
But ultimately, if someone really, really wants to get into this real estate investment game, there's so many ways of going about it. I
agree.
The current situation, even in 84, wasn't better than it. I mean, it's just different. But there's always a need for housing. There's always a need for living somewhere. So getting in, you got to be creative. You got to hustle. You got to be persistent with it. And at 19 is a great age. My story is very similar to yours. I red hacked before I even knew what it meant. But it made it work, and it was 100% financing, and here I am. So that's exciting. Whereabout was it?
So that property was in Hamilton, Ontario. Yep. It was on Holton Avenue. By the way, Holton was next to Gibson, and back in the days, Gibson was the worst street in all of Hamilton. So I moved from the escarpment, thinking everybody took care of their properties, down to this street where it was like a war zone. It was crazy, and I got to learn that not everybody takes care of property, not everybody takes care of the neighborhoods. That property, by the way, I bought it about 80% down, and my parents gave me
80% down.
Yeah, yes, I bought it with cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so who encouraged you to put 80% down or to actually buy a house at 19? It's pretty rare nowadays.
Well, first of all,
push to go to university or college. Yeah. How did that come about?
So I came to Canada in 1972. I was 7 years old. In the 70s, being a person who looked different than everybody else wasn't the most popular thing. And my parents told me I had to work twice as hard to get as far. Because back then it was, you have to look like everybody else. Today, if you're a weirdo, people love you. But you know what? Back then, I didn't fit in. So I had to work twice as hard to get as far. And people told me that I was never going to get anywhere. So by the time I was 16, I created my own book business where I just dropped off cookbooks to businesses and had the receptionist sell them. I bought them for $4, sold them for 14. The receptionist sold them for me.
Awesome.
And then pretty much, 16 sent me to 19. By 4 years later, I had saved up about $80,000.
Oh, awesome. That's
I was
amazing.
making 25,000 a year, almost as much as my dad, just dropping off cookbooks. Because keep in mind that chapters didn't come about till 1996. This is 84.
Yeah.
There's no way to get books. In 1980, the microcomputer was invented. Sorry, what am I talking about? This is 1980 when microcomputers were invented. So I was 16. So just dropping off cookbooks and having a receptionist sell them, and then I call and say how many books, and then she'll collect them and collect the money, and she keeps the one book. It was mostly female at the time. She keeps the one book as her payment, and then it would work for me. I mean, today it's the same thing. The receptionist would be Facebook. I would bring the books back. I'm drop shipping. She would collect the money. That's Visa, and she'll market to the people in the office.
I like that. I like it. It's like talking about the feudal system, the feudal system with the king. People say it hasn't changed. The names have changed, but everything's else the same.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. So that's why I was able to buy, and I couldn't qualify for anything because I wasn't working. And therefore, I had to buy cash. I had no choice. And then my parents came in with a $20,000. They had a little line of credit that they brought, and that's how I bought my first property. And therefore, I had to rent it out to the basement in order to actually, pay my rent, right? I mean, to pay back my parents.
Of course. So you're living in a house, you're rent hacking before rent hacking is even a word.
Yeah.
So did you build the kitchen? Like, how did you go about?
Oh, I spent 4 years not investing, 19 to 24 and a half. I spent that time going to school and becoming a teacher.
Okay.
And I actually I became a teacher. By 24 and a half, 25, I was teaching. My brother, who was a police officer in Hamilton, he's more of a visionary. I'm a systems analyst. That's what I studied, systems. He came to me and said, I want you to partner with me because you can create the systems. And I go, I already have a property. He goes, but I want you to be an investor. I go, I don't want to be an investor. I already have a property. It's my home. And he goes, I'm your older brother. I have a gun. You're going to invest. So you know what? He pulled me into investing. And then together, his income and my income, we started buying properties. But we always bought two properties. We bought and fixed.
Yeah.
Buy, fix, sell, and take the money from the buy, fix, sells to be down payment on a buy, fix, rent, and the money from the other buy, fix, sell to be the fix up money. So we would do two buy, fix, sells within the year, and then we would take the money as down payment and fix up and buy and hold. Two buy, fix, sells, buy and hold, because we didn't have interest rates low like 2009 interest rates like 1 or 2%. Yeah. Properties were appreciating 15% a year before you even put a dollar into it. You put money into it, the appraiser would go to the moon with your appraisal. That didn't exist. Back in those days, properties went up 5% a year. And on top of it all, even if you put a lot of money into it, the appraisers would never appraise it high. They were conservative. And don't forget, this is 1990, because 89, the interest rates were 19%, 20%. Market was collapsing. So we started buying houses cheap, because the market was collapsing. Bought two cheap, fixed, sold, bought one. A year later, year and a half later, bought two, sold, and then fixed. So we always bought our properties with about 30% down. We also had equity in them.
Nice.
From the two buy, fix, sells. Yeah.
So you went through the recession in the 1990s.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So you went through what 4 or 5 recessions already?
Yeah. So if you include the recessions in the U.S., because I buy in the U.S., you include so 2018, BC had a problem. I have properties in BC. 2009, 10, 11, Alberta had a problem. 2011, I think it was. I have properties there. Ontario didn't have an issue. Maybe 1999 for a bit. .com bubble burst, and maybe the world was going to end. Remember, computers were supposed to crash.
Yeah.
And, I also went through the 90s. So I probably say about 5 or 6 different crashes. Yeah. Sure.
And for those who are experiencing it for the first time, what do you recommend for people during these downward times?
Okay, so you have to remember something. When the market's going up, there's certain strategies that work very well. So buy and hold for rent, buy, fix, and sell, and even rent to own, because you can say to somebody, if you're the rent to own, they will pay a higher price in the future because the market's going up. Right? They buy it today and they're agreed to pay a higher price in the future because it's justifiable because the market's going up. When the market's going down, it's not easy to buy, fix, and sell. You can get cheaper property, but if you fix it and sell it, you won't get as much. Buy and hold, you know what? Everybody's just holding on to what they have. And then for rent to own, it's not as easy because you're not selling it on, well, you're going to pay a lot more in the future, even though the prices are going down. So then you would switch your strategies to, I started lending money on the way down, or I would get into multifamily buildings on the way down because people bought too much, couldn't handle it. And then on the way down, I was able to get good prices. When it's flat, I would buy strip plazas, but the ones that are medical retail. So, or they have like a convenience store, a pharmacy, little pharmacy, and a pizza shop, and then like lawyer, accountant, things like that. And then self-storage works incredible when the market's going down because people need to store their stuff somewhere. And so I do different strategies, not because I want to, because I'm a hunter. If the caribou is moving, I have to follow the caribou.
I love that, yeah.
That's why I did different strategies. One didn't work over 6 or 7 different flops.
Yeah, so like many investors, you're an opportunist. You see opportunity, and you jump to the occasion, of course. So right now, you're saying that in the downward market, which hopefully we're out of the downward market, the best strategies are buying multifamily, or
I think it's buying multifamily, but over 6 units. Because 6 units, you still have to manage it. And even 12 units, you're stuck with not being able to have a full-time property manager. So you're really taking on a lot of work there in that one building. You may have a part-time super. So 16, 17 units, it might be able to get a full-time super. Because it's not just buying a property to make cash flow, it's all the work you have to do to manage that property too. So I think today, what would make money are the 4+1s and more of a new build. So you buy a house, knock it down, basement apartment, main level apartment, second, third level apartment, maybe an ADU in the backyard. Yeah, 4+1. Because I just don't think a single family makes a lot of money. I don't think a duplex makes money anymore. Duplex with an ADU in the back, I think it makes you something. But you got to have 4 units these days, I believe.
Oh yeah, and more municipalities. I think Barrie's part of it. Kingston is part of it. The Belleville is going through the process of getting 4 units per lot.
Exactly. It's 4 units makes sense for me. And even if it's the basement unit on the main floor, on the front section you have 1 unit, and the back section you have 1 unit, on the second floor because of a height restriction, still 4 units are good, or 3 in the main house and 1 ADU in the backyard. St. Catherine's, I think, is offering up to $80,000 grant, I think.
Oh, really?
ADUs. Yeah.
There's a lot of municipalities that are offering grants. If you look at the fine details, you got to keep the rent at a certain 90% of CMHC's guidelines. So
so to answer your question, multifamily or more than 1 unit, and then people don't like strip plazas; they're afraid of those things. I love them. Why? Well, because they have retail stores in them. So if you have the wrong mix, you see, if you have restaurants in a strip plaza, like 8 or 9 units, restaurants can go out of business. If you have retails can go out of business, right? But if you have something that's what I call recession-proof, internet-proof, and even now pandemic-proof, so RIP stores, because people always want to go to a convenience store. They always want pizza. You can afford it no matter what.
That's recession-proof is pizza. You're right. It's true. Everyone eats pizza regardless of the economy. So what other things are recession-proof?
As long as I have pizza, as long as I have a small pharmacy, as long as I have a convenience store, and if I have the insurance company, the realtor, the lawyer, the dentist, doctor, anything, maybe not dentist because they have an x-ray, and I have to, shore up the walls for, a radiation. But ultimately, that's a good mix. And if you have some apartments above it, now you have the best of both worlds. So I like those. Well, kind of afraid of those, but I love those.
Awesome. So what area do you touch upon? You said some of the states in Alberta, Ontario. Like currently, what's your where do you see the opportunities?
So a lot of people think that where I am stinks, so I need to go very far, right? The truth is, where you are does not stink. Your ability to work with where you are stinks, right? So keep that in mind, because although I have stuff in Florida, in 1999, I bought houses in Cape Coral, Florida. In 2007, 2008, when the U.S. market collapsed, bought houses in Arizona. Because I used to travel and speak, I would fly to BC and speak. You know what? I had no fear in buying something in BC. And because I used to travel to Alberta, I had no problem in buying in Edmonton. And then Saskatoon, I would speak there, stick around for a few days. I was even dating somebody there. So you know what? Why not buy real estate, right?
Why not?
So going to different places was not scary for me, only because I was traveling there anyway. But in Ontario, there might be a lot of not so good things here. But when you go to your garbage can, you see a raccoon. When you're in Arizona, you see a rattlesnake. When you're in Florida, you see an alligator. So every area, although it looks great, you're just trading off problems. Just make sure that you're not trading what you got for a set of problems that you can't handle only because you're looking at something amazing. What's your thoughts about that?
Oh, something happened. So, we got cut off. We'll have to edit that. I don't know what happened there.
It sounds good. Was I able to finish my answer, or?
I heard that there was alligators in Florida, raccoons in Ontario. There's
Rattlesnakes in Arizona. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, if you're going to go somewhere else looking for wealth, just remember you're trading off one set of problems for the other set of problems. So make sure you don't just look at the gold, look at the bronze too, right? So
I thought all active investors, they're always solving problems, one problem after another that you're solving. You're solving problems here and there. Those who may not enjoy solving problems, it's probably not best to be active.
exactly. But what I'm saying is, so I have stuff in Ontario, which I love. And I have stuff in Alberta, which I like. And I have stuff in Arizona, which I like. And in Florida and in Belize. And the different sets of problems in different areas. But I'm not going to say that forget Ontario or forget the U.S.
Well, I mean, Ontario is a massive community. There's so many people in Ontario. To say no to Ontario is like saying, no, I don't eat vegetables. Like there's a wide range of vegetables. Like just choose one that you like. And I'm still seeing tons of opportunities in Ontario. And then again, there's people actually passing on. There's where I live in Kingston, people who've owned this place for 40 years, and it's their time to go. It's their time to move on. Children don't want it, and all of a sudden this comes up and I'm like, wow, this has never been on the market. So there's always opportunities out there.
I believe that. So, it all depends on your skill set and if you can apply what your knowledge is to the current situation. But I don't generally buy downtown Toronto. Some of these 4+1s now, if I were to build them, I could build them in the GTA because, there's a lot of benefits to that. But I've always worked on the outskirts. So the Kitchener, the Belleville, I haven't worked in Kingston yet. The Cambridge, the Barrie, the Hamilton, the Welland, the London. I don't do anything in Mississauga or Brampton or have anything in Etobicoke or GTA because the price points were very, very expensive, and I couldn't afford to make big mistakes as I was going through life. Right? Today, or the last 15 years, I'm able to work in those areas, but you learn a way that you sometimes, I'm making money on the outskirts, so I'm okay with that.
So what can we sum it up? Like the sheer experience that you have over the years, are there things that you've learned, and like, can you sum it up in like 5 tips that you've learned along the years to do for those who are starting off, or those who are at it for a while but need to be, kind of guided back towards their goal?
Okay, I'll say this. How I found most of my deals, now I respect realtors, but I found most of my deals off market and from people who are not looking to even sell.
Interesting.
So because they're not looking to sell, and I drive by and I see a space, so the first rule is you don't have to put aside time to go and look for property. You need to build it into your lifestyle. If I have an 11 o'clock meeting and it's 30 minutes to that meeting, instead of leaving at 10:30, I'll leave at 10. On the way there, if I see a building and I see an owner, you can always tell an owner, or a house in distress and I see the owner, I'm 30 minutes early. I've learned to turn the wheel and go in and talk to them on the spot at that time. Do not let it wait for the next time. And I say to them, I've been driving by your property. You called my name. I pulled in. I think I want to buy your property. Let's talk about it. And they'll say it's not for sale.
Yeah.
And then we have a conversation. So a lot of my deals came that way, acting on the moment, but building the time in to have the moment to act.
Do you leave a card? Do you leave a number, or just you start the conversation? So, you follow through with it next, like in a month or so?
So I always have these brochures in my car that talk about if it's a house or if it's a building. And if it's a building, I may pull into the parking lot for a moment, sit around for a few minutes, and wait for a tenant to come home. Then I will say, in the first instance, I'm looking to probably rent a place here. Can I get in contact with the building owner or the landlord? And they'll give me that information. Now, if that happens to be the landlord, I'll say, well, really, in the second instance, I really want to buy the place. But the fact that I said in the first instance, it assumes there's a second instance, right? I may never get to the second instance with that person in the parking lot. It's called a lawyer's dodge. But anyway, so basically, that person will give me the superintendent, or I may go to the buzzer, I may buzz superintendent, or I may look at the sign in the lobby. I see a phone number. Might be a sign out front of the building, and I call the owner. Hey, I was driving by a building. It called my name. I want to buy your building. It's not for sale. What's your price? I go, well, I can give you a price, but I want to get some data first. Why don't we have a conversation about that? And we start the conversation. Now, it might take about a month or 2 or 3, but once you plant the seed, then I don't have to worry about it's already on the market, it's being advertised. I create that conversation. Worst case scenario, they're not selling, but they have another building they want to sell, or they're only growing. So if you're only growing, if I find something you want based on what I'm looking for, if I don't buy it, can I assign it to you? Can I wholesale it to you? See, no, I'm not acting like a realtor. I'm saying if I find a deal that I can't buy, I'm looking to buy it myself, get on the contract. If I'm not going to close on it, can I showcase it to you? They're like, sure. I go, well, what are you looking for? 34 units. Oh, city, Kitchener. Oh, what cap rate? Oh, okay. Yeah, if I find something that I'm trying to buy but I can't buy, I'll let you see it. So I may just wholesale it to them for $100,000.
Regardless of the conversation, how it ends, it's either going to be a win-win for you because you're either going to wholesale for them or you're going to buy their property or another property that they may own.
And if they're not growing and they're not selling, I say, you seem to be a person in a position where I might be one day. Can I ask you why that is? Do you lose the taste? They say, no, I'm just too busy. I'm just too tired. Hey, can I be your Viagra? I'm not busy. I'm not tired. So if you have these buildings, maybe I can go out there and do the heavy lifting and maybe we can joint venture. And if they say, not really, I say, okay, well, with all of your equity, you ever think of loaning money out, for bridge loaning? Because if that's the case, I can put you on a mortgage agent. So guess what? I take them down the line.
I love that. I love that. That's brilliant. That's spoken like a true entrepreneur who just goes for it.
Yeah, I try to eat everything on the bone. You know what I mean? So I eat the meat. I use the fat for making candles. I will eat the bone marrow, use the bone for tools. I do not waste the animal. I do not waste the deal. I do not waste that opportunity. Everything I can get from it in a nice way.
Of course. I mean, you're in a way, in any relationship, you're there to help by one way or another. Now, also, you must coach people as well.
I do.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
And you teach this to your coaching clients. Now, well, what kind of who do you usually teach or coach?
So usually it's somebody who's got like 3 properties, maybe 3 residential, and they want to jump up to multifamily, or it's somebody who wants to go into land development, how to do site plan approval. Somebody wants to learn to raise money, roots, from the ground up. It could be somebody like I have coached people who are getting into real estate,
Hmm.
but mainly it's somebody who's got one or two properties and they're stuck and they want to go to the next level up because there needs to be some excitement for me as well. Yes, I get paid, but I love seeing people going to the next level. There's a joy in that for me. So if somebody wants to go to the next level, then I'll take them on. But I only coach about 8 people a year. Years ago, I would coach about maybe 30, 40, or 50. I don't think I can give the quality uh, teaching 30 or 40, 50 people because it's more like group stuff.
Yeah.
Today, last couple of years, I'll just take on 8 people. I'll spend a lot of time with them, one-on-one. So it's not cheap, but it's a lot of one-on-one time because, I mean, I need to show you how to fly the plane by being in the cockpit with you.
It's a good
And
analogy.
you can't do that with 100 people. It's fact about 8 people. And I do it just because I love doing it. I get paid for it, but I'm seeing the results, right? So that's how I coach. I'm not a big coacher. I just a few selected people who want to go to the next level, and then we hang out a lot. We have breakfast, we
I love that.
lunches, we talk to owners, we talk to investors, we go see properties, and we have a good time doing it, right? We knock on doors together, and we laugh about it, right?
That's exciting. That's very exciting. That sounds like a lot of fun. And it seems like you're deep down, you're a true teacher and you enjoy giving your knowledge and sharing your experience with the right mentor.
Exactly.
That's quite amazing. What else would they gather from it? The part of the fun, the what else do you specialize
So
with
I
your mentor?
I teach systems. So I have maybe about 500 systems that I personally created that I use to make things easy. In the construction world, we call those jigs. A jig is something that if you're trying to put up your drywall by yourself, if you have a T from a 2x4, 2x4, you can fold it up while you do something else. So when I say jigs, instead of going like door to door, driving for dollars, looking for opportunities, back in 2002, every time I found a UPS driver, I'd say to them, here is a brochure. Here's what I'm looking for. You see long grass, you see a pack rat, you see all these things. Give me 5 phone numbers. I'll keep you with this card. I'll keep you in coffee. So I'll give you a $30 coffee card because all these UPS drivers want is caffeine. They want the coffee card. And I'm not changing their behavior. If I said to you, every time you see a beautiful girl in a red dress, think of Mathew Frederick, you'll begin to see beautiful girls in red dresses.
I love that.
Telling these UPS drivers, and they're always parked somewhere, they're always stopped at some point, and then I just say, hey, you know what? Nice truck. Here's a sheet. I'm an investor. I'm trying to identify these properties. You drive by these all day long. If you see a vacant lot right beside a property, you see the best house on the street, you see the worst house on the street, write the phone number down, I write the address. You give me those 5 addresses, I keep you in coffee. So I become their coffee dealer. Does that make sense?
That's brilliant. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I did this with a postal worker once, and she loved it. She was eager with it. She said, but I got to keep it low and everything. I would text her. She texted me a few things, and there's some opportunities came out because she knew the area so well.
And you know what it is? I had like 25 or 26 of those folks out doing things for me. Taxi drivers. Today it could be Uber, it could be Skip the Dishes. But what I'm saying is that's a jig. It's a little small system, and I have about 500 of those that I've developed over time, and that makes life easy. And I teach those little small systems to help people get from here to there a little bit faster by using systems. I heard a commercial years ago, and it makes so much sense. Last year's Tour de France winner on a tricycle will be beaten by a 10-year-old on a bicycle. Because a bicycle is a better system than a tricycle. All that person's experience and skill set and stamina doesn't matter on a tricycle. So what I do is I create little small systems, lots of little systems to help people get from point A to point B. But I do it for myself first so that I'm not living in the business. I'm working on the business, spend time with my 17-year-old daughter. Makes sense.
That's awesome. I love that idea because everyone starts off as an employee potentially, and then they go on to being self-employed. But the self-employed to the business, that leap involves systems and individuals.
That's
and you're either paying them or you're hiring them or they become associates, or there's benefit to working with them. And I love that's a brilliant idea. Everyone is hooked on the coffee. I think I should use that.
Yeah. So really, it's, as I said, you built into your day time enough to stop and act upon things. And secondly, you build little tiny systems to put you in 15 places at once. And those are 2 of the 5 that I think are really, really important. The third would be to take an inventory of your life. Look at all the little things along your life, in high school, at sports. What are some of the lessons you've learned? And take those lessons and put them in little small eggs. You know how an egg has a shell, and it has a white and a yolk and a little germ. The germ is the lesson that you learn from it, related to, let's say, real estate. The egg, the actual yolk, is going to be the aha moment. The white part of the egg is the history about it, and the egg itself is the concept. So I might say to you, you know what? I thought people didn't like me when I was growing up because I was a different color, and they used to pick me last. But you know what I learned? It wasn't that I was a different color; it's because I didn't like myself, and I would be in the back all the time. So they picked me last because I was always hiding in the back. When I grew to 6 feet in grade 8, I had no choice. People were picking me because I couldn't hide anymore. I came to a realization it wasn't because they didn't like me; it's because I didn't like me. Because some kids convinced me when I was 7, 8 years old I wasn't worth it, and I believed it.
Yeah,
and I expanded it as I grew. Well, I'll tell you something. When it comes to real estate, it's like that too. You see how the transition. First time I saw a property, I was thinking, this is too big for me, too big to handle. But you know, when I actually got my brother when I actually bought the first one, even though I had problems, I couldn't have 2 kitchens. Guess what? I realized this is a place for me to grow and expand. So what I'm saying is, I help people create these little stories that you find something in your life, you learn what is the story, what's the circumstance, what did I think, what's the aha, what's the lesson, then you transition it to real estate, and then that real estate transition helps you get money, helps you get partners, helps you motivate even contractors. So that's number 3 and number 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah, limiting beliefs or what we believe is critical. It's so important because it really is a reflection on our life, is a reflection of our own beliefs.
But if you can think of 10 to 20 or 30 little stories in your life where you had aha moments, and you tie those to different aspects of real estate, you'll discover, people out there will discover that by saying the story, that solves 50 words or 1,000 words, because you relate to somebody else. You just relate to them, and all of a sudden now you get a good deal, right?
That's neat. What else? What other thing have you learned along the years?
Okay, I'll tell you something else. So when I became a more successful investor, I would say that I was on the 5th or 6th floor financially. When I was on the 1st floor, I used to tell people, hey, come in with this opportunity. You know, it's got good ROI. It's got good cash flow. It's a good area. I would talk about how good these things were. Once I got to the 5th, 6th, 7th floor, I realized what I don't want to do most is fall off the 6th floor. I don't want to lose what I have. So in order to get money from wealthier people, I learned you have to first, don't go into the numbers, you go into the liability. Here's how I'm going to protect you liability-wise. We're doing this, so you don't get sued, you can't get hurt, you can't get injured. So this project, liability-wise, here's how I protect you. Secondly, taxes. So we've taken the project and we put it through our tax guy, and we're going to show you a way that's going to benefit you tax-wise, so you're getting most of your money back.
Nice.
Number 3, we're going to create exits. So you have exits to leave, although we don't want you to leave. We're going to show you that there's 3 exits in the process.
That's so important. I spoke to an investor yesterday, and that's one of the key elements for him, was to exit when he wanted to, anytime, because you know money money moves quickly sometimes, and he wanted to move out when he wanted to, not wait 5 years.
And that's important, because on an airplane, when you're going down the runway, they tell you the exits are above the window. That's only good when you're on the runway.
Yeah.
It's not good at 50,000 feet, but you don't get to 50,000 feet unless they feel there's exits. So your guy yesterday felt as though there's some exits. Doesn't mean he's going to use them, but he felt as though they were there.
The safety. He felt safety by knowing that there was exits, and he enjoyed that.
So I learned, show them how I'm going to liability protect them, show them how I'm going to tax protect them, show them how I'm going to give them exits, and show them the systems in place in case anything happens, that we have systems, the tricycle, bicycle working for me. And once I've taken care of all that, now I've earned the right to talk about ROI, cash flow. But
That's
people
brilliant.
lead with that money because they want money. They want to be wealthy. The wealthy don't need to be wealthy. They need not to lose their money.
I like that. I like that. And I find a lot of wealthy people, yeah, it's not about the ROIs. It's about making sure that the money's safe, and then they're thinking about getting the ROI. So it's clearly showing them that their money can be safe. The idea of rotating the capital, it's few people think that way.
It's true, but against the pattern, we start with liability, then we go with taxes, then we go with exits, then we go with systems. So I want people to realize that it's the sequence in how they deliver something is going to be the success for them or the failure. And it's never the sequence you think, because you're from this end looking up and you're trying to talk to a guy looking down. Got to understand where they're looking from.
That's brilliant. I like that very well put together. I mean, speaking with you, Mathew, it's clearly that you speak from experience, and not only from doing it, but also you have a way of explaining it to mentors and those you coach. Where can people find you? I think what you have to offer is brilliant, very well put together.
Well, they can meet me at my web, at my email. It's Mathew with one T, so MATHEW .f@rccsol.com. I've been a guest on, maybe 20 or 30 of these podcasts. If anybody wants to learn from some of those podcasts, yours will be here as well. They can go to rccsol.com/podcast. So there's information there that they can get. And but they can always call me. I always put a time aside, some time every day, to just answer questions or talk to strangers, because when I'm giving and I'm answering questions, it's making me smarter. It's challenging my mind. So it's a two-way street.
Spoken like a true teacher.
Yeah.
I get it. As a teacher myself,
yes.
I learn when I teach others. It makes you think differently and put things in a different way. So I think it's brilliant. Thank you very much, Mathew. I think what you're doing is amazing. Keep it up.
You're very welcome. And just the last lesson, just give me an example.
Sure. Yes, please.
Have any more time?
Yes.
But a lot of people don't know when to let go. So sometimes you're at the bottom of the ninth inning, which means you're the last up to bat, and it's a 0-0 score. So you guys have to score, and you got 3 up to bats. First guy hits the ball, he's on first base. The second guy wants to hit a home run, right? Be the hero. But the coach tells him, bunt the ball. So just bunt it and then get out. So then at least it advances the run from first to second. The third guy is like, I want to knock this out of the park. No, sometimes you have to, sacrifice, fly the ball, pop it up so you can get the runner to home run. Well, in tough times, there are certain properties that I didn't want to let go because I didn't want it to beat me. I needed to beat this property because it's kicking my butt. And I fought it and fought it and fought it. Sometimes you have to bunt that sucker, sacrifice, fly that sucker, because it's not about that property, it's about your family. So you have to just sometimes let go and say, I failed. Lessons come with me, pain comes with me, shame comes with me, cost comes with me, but I can now spend my time with a calm brain with my family, as opposed to trying to beat something. Some people cannot let things go.
This is a very wise lesson, especially during these times, because I know a lot of people, including myself, where certain properties just don't cash flow as they were calculated because of variable interest rates of some sort. So yeah, letting things go is very important, and I think a lot of people have difficulty doing that.
Well, if you have 5 things and you want to hold all 5, I mean, the one you let go is the one that will save 3, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's your baby, you know what? You let it go to save the 3 or save the 4, right?
So out of all the properties that you did buy, how many have you let go, or what percentage?
So I'll give you an example. Well, in the beginning, I bought houses, two-family houses.
Yep.
And my brother and I, we got to about 30 of them. And we realized that after about 10 years, 15 years, we were not rich because, equity goes up. We were just more tired because these houses were just draining us. Like, come home from a hard day's work, you get a phone call, a tree branch fell on a fence, fridge is not working. So then we ended up selling half of those to get into a multifamily. Instead of selling one or two to get into a sixplex, we sold half of our portfolio, paid capital gains, whatever it was back then.
Yep.
We actually got into like a larger building, more like the 12 to 17 range. And we found that we were making good cash flow, but at the same time we were not stressed out, and that cleared our brains to go to the next level. So I sold out half my portfolio just to be able to get something bigger, so that my brain can be calmer, so I can go to the next level.
That is very important.
Yeah, that was one scenario.
The clarity of the mind, because as you grow bigger and bigger, sometimes there's distractions or things that are holding you down, and it's nice to just level it off in order to get to the next level.
It's so true. And there was one property, my first commercial property that I bought it without really getting any advice because I was good at houses. And by that time, I was flying close to the sun because I was incredible and I was invincible and I could do no wrong. Everything that I touched turned to gold. And therefore, I kind of didn't listen. They wanted 800,000 for the property. I got it for 600,000. I got a VTB of like 500,000. I'm thinking I'm such a great negotiator. Only to realize they didn't want me to go to the bank because the land was polluted, and I never knew what a phase one environmental was.
Whoa.
So now 7 years later, the property goes up to 1.4 million. I'm like, my God, it's 1.4 million. I was making cash flow on it. Now my great buy is going to pay me off because I'm just going to refinance and pay out the VTB. The bank wanted a phase one environmental. Boom, boom, boom. Gas stations, pollution. Cost me over $350,000 to clean that thing, right?
And the seller knew about this.
100%. And then I said to him, "Did you know about this?" He goes, "No." But he did. But it's not his fault. It was my fault because I was flying too close to the sun. And like Icarus, I found myself on my back looking up thinking, what the hell did I do? Because that ego didn't help me. That invincibility didn't help me. And that's the problem. You become invincible. So then I will say to you that as a beginning learner, investor, that probably beat me. Even when I was an intermediate investor, that probably still beat me. I couldn't make it. I couldn't solve the problem. And then as an advanced investor, I could never solve the problem. So in the end, I turned it over to the bank. I says, okay, I'm going to give it to you for your mortgage. And I walked away. And somebody came in and bought it and did the right thing to it and is making a killing on it. I just couldn't beat that property. And what I see what they're doing after, I'm like, I couldn't think of that. I already had built hundreds of houses and buildings, and I had multifamily buildings. But that bloody property, when I let it go, it sure released my stress.
Yeah.
It was a failure, but I'll tell you, I probably learned 70% of all my multifamily and commercial real estate and all my land cleaning, phase one, phase two, and phase three environmental, on that building.
So it's paid for itself.
Paid for itself because I've made a lot of cheese based on the knowledge that I received from that building. And the only reason why I gave up is a lady drove by and she pulled in the parking lot. She saw me there. She goes, "I feel a lot of pain in this building." And I go, "Yeah, that's my pain, lady." She goes, No. Deep pain. Now, this is at the end of Plains Road in Burlington, close to Dundurn Castle.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, there must have been something that happened there. Who knows? But there was a pain in that building. And I'm going to tell you that I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not going to say it's supernatural, but I'm going to tell you, no matter what I did, I couldn't beat it. So the lady said, "I'm going to light this stuff and walk around she's going to smudge the place."
Smudging it. Oh, yeah, I've heard of this. Yeah.
Smudged it and then drove away. Never saw her again. I said to myself, I'm selling this bloody building right now. I gave up. I sold it, walked away. I turned the keys over to the bank. Shameful. As an advanced investor. So they didn't lose money because there's a lot of equity still in there.
Yep.
They were happy that, in the sense that they actually had a buyer anyway. And that buyer made money. The bank made money. I didn't make a penny, but
You
I
learn you
learned
learn
something
from
real estate.
that, and I think that's there's a wisdom when one can learn from one's mistakes, and few
Correct.
people, you know how it goes, Matthew.
Yes.
Seems like on social media, nobody's making mistakes in real estate.
That's
Seems
right.
like everyone's
That's
a
right.
winner, but there's mistakes that are being had, and there's lessons that are learned from those mistakes, and that's how
Yeah.
you grow, and that's how we learn as human beings.
And again, I've learned the most and I've grown the most from that building. So that's what I want to share. It's not positive, but it's positive. So I want people to realize it's okay.
Appreciate it.
It's okay to screw up.
Yeah.
Take something from it and move on.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for sharing, because it's important to learn that some people have made mistakes as well. And like I said, few people talk about those mistakes, but those mistakes are learning experiences, and you're better off. I think that's the key, is we're better off having made those mistakes,
That's right.
and you're stronger and better for it.
That's right. So the knowledge stays, the scars stay, but you go from there.
Okay, one last question. So
Yeah.
Matthew, like, where do you see, like, in 10 years or so, like what's your life going to look like? Like, are you going to just keep on persisting? You seem like you enjoy the hustle of finding deals and helping people, teaching them. What's it going to look like in 10 years?
Well, right now I'm looking to build an ethanol plant in Nigeria. So I'm just going through all the studies for that, because with ethanol made out of cassava is like
It's a sugar, isn't it?
yeah, it grows there. Uh, you can make ethanol, you can make a sweetener, you can make cattle feed. So what I'm doing more for the next, because I'm 59, I'll be 60 in January. So
Can't tell it all.
yeah, well, thank you. So for my next 10 years, I'll be doing more interesting projects. So right now I'm working on a self-storage, 3-story, 144,000 square foot in the US. I build in Belize, but the fact is I'm looking to do projects that I'm learning something new and that are exciting and something that
challenging to a certain
helps
degree.
the environment. Yeah. It builds wealth too, but I'm just saying it's interesting stuff outside of real estate. Because real estate, I like it, but to me, real estate's like farm animals. It's like a cow. I milk the cow, I take care of the cow. I don't kiss the cow. I don't look at the cow's eyes. I milk it. I take care of it. It's a great thing to have, but I'm not turned on by it. When I'm 97, 98, ready to die, I'm not going to be like, geez, I have, so many doors. I'm like, what did I do to make a difference on this earth? And by the way, I've done all I can do. I'm ready to go. Whatever I'm going to, I'm ready to go from this caterpillar to the butterfly. I'm ready. But I'm not going to be like people who are like, I don't want to go. I didn't do enough. I don't want to. I'm going to be like, pick me, man.
I've done my work here. That's awesome.
My work's done. Yeah.
So run that by me again. What are you building in Nigeria?
Yeah. So right now I'm going through the investigation and site plan approval for building an ethanol plant. So
ethanol plant.
Ethanol. So converting cassava to
cassava,
ethanol,
which is it's like maple syrup for Canadians, but over there it's sugar.
So here in Canada, they take corn and they convert corn into ethanol, and they use ethanol as a portion of car fuel.
Okay.
But with cassava, it's just like a fruit or vegetable that's grown there. That can be taken, and ethanol can come from it. And some other byproducts would be a sweetener that's not cancer causing, and also animal feed and a few other things. So it's going to help this community, and it's going to be the main source of income for them. It's going to end up building a school for them. It's going to end up educating some young people. I was from Trinidad and Tobago, but probably, 7 generations back, I'm sure, I must have come from West Africa or something. So I don't mind trying to do something interesting on different continents, right?
That sounds fascinating.
But also doing something interesting here. You don't have to leave Canada to go and help people.
Yeah.
So I'm doing stuff here to help local people. But at the same time, I'm very interested in Nigeria because I can get into the business in Nigeria. It's hard to get into that business in Canada.
That's fascinating. Yeah. That's it stands out. no one seems like few people are actually delving into this type of industry and investments. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
So it's just more personal growth. But yeah, I'll always coach people because Taylor Swift is wealthy beyond belief. So why does she actually still do concerts? Because she likes to sing. She writes
Yeah.
songs because she wants to sing. I'm always going to teach people because I'm a teacher. But at the same time, not lots of people, maybe 8 or 9 serious people who want to go to the next level. And at the same time, I try to do interesting projects that stimulate the mind. Like I'm learning Chinese. I've learned to write
Cool.
500 Chinese symbols, and I'm learning the culture.
Cantonese or Mandarin? I mean, those
Mandarin.
Very challenging language.
Very challenging. Very hard. It's challenging because those symbols, there's a story behind every symbol. So here, how we have phonics, we have A and D, the word and. There, you might have this and that. That's a person. It looks like a person. And you might have this, and that. A person with his hands wide open, that could mean big. And then a line above it, hands wide open, person, could mean sky.
And tone seems to play a huge factor as well, which is very confusing for
so hard.
an Anglophone.
Hard.
Yeah.
It's like or yeah, it's hard.
I have a buddy who's learning because his wife is Chinese, and it's
the hardest thing I've ever had to learn. But I'm learning the culture behind the symbols, and so it's a curiosity. And it's a 5,000-year-old culture. So guess what? There's lessons there. There's forgotten lessons from 5,000 years ago. That if I learn the language, I can learn some of those lessons, right?
Mathew, you have a wide range of skill, but also knowledge. But the curiosity is so strong, and the growth, because it appears as if every challenge that you face, it brings more growth to you. So I welcome. This is lovely. This is the way I think, my brother. Exact same thing. So thank you very much for taking the time, and I'm sure we'll see each other again.
Well, I forget. Where are you based?
I'm based in Kingston.
Okay, so you know what?
But I'm in Toronto all the time.
Let's do lunch. Let's do dinner, my friend.
Yeah. Anytime let me know. Send me an email. It'd be a pleasure talking with you, spending more time with you.
Yeah, because you know what? Learning goes both ways, and I'd love to hear about you and the things you've learned, and some of your stories too. So you know what? I hope people who are listening to this realize that it's about learning from each other. Right?
Yes. We can all learn from each other and exchanging information and experience, and that's what I enjoy doing.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much. We'll talk again.
The recording has stopped.
Yeah, that was fun. That
was a lot of fun. I'm trying to squeeze it down to an hour because I got to talk to somebody else at 1.
Okay.
So that's really good. But thanks, Mathew. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I like your approach. It's genuine.
You know what? I love that. I love that. And yeah, let's get together. We'll figure it out. We'll sit back, a few hours, just trade stories and.
Yeah, I'm often in Toronto as well. I go to Toronto easily once or twice a month.
Let me know when you're coming, when you have some time, and
18th, 19th of October.
Okay. Well, if you have the time, squeeze out some time. If you can, I'd love to meet with you.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And I'll meet close to wherever you have to be.
Where are you located?
Well, I'm in Vaughan, right? Highway 47, Highway 400. But no, I can meet you anywhere. I mean, you're coming all that way. I can meet you anywhere. So.
Sounds good. All right. Well, definitely. I'll make a date of it for sure.
For your podcast, when do they actually let's say air?
Oh, it's within a week or two. We're pretty fast at times. Okay, yeah. I throw it to the VA and he puts it together, and sometimes I'll tell him just push it up, and he just publishes it, and we have one once a week basically.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, perfect.
So I'll send you an email right now with the recording of it. And
okay, yeah.
And by all means, definitely share it.
Sounds good. So you felt as though we did a good job, right?
Oh, I think we did a fabulous job for sure. Yeah, there's only so much you could talk about in an hour, but I think I really like the way you present things and it's simple, and it's as you say, it's like a system.
Yeah.
You speak in systems, which is, and with analogies as well, which is far better than what most people, they don't really know how to explain certain things. You break it down.
That's so important, though. You know, speaking in little small stories, in analogies, I'm able to, like I said, cover 1,000 words in a simple, small picture of 60 seconds.
Yep.
And that's what gets me through things, right? And I'll tell you something. I was never the smartest student when I was growing up because I talk in pictures. And that didn't help me in grade 1 to grade 8. But I'll tell you something, in business, it helps me.
Yeah, I like also the way you approach the investor as well, about the raising the capital, because that itself is very, very important.
Yeah. Okay, so I look forward to spending some time with you. Listen, we can talk for an hour because that went by very quick. Anyway,
that went very fast.
You have a meeting right now, but pleasure. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to it.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.